The Not So Great Outdoors contains stories of a graphic nature. Viewer discretion is advised. The outdoors are great.
Except when they're not. Welcome to the Not So Great Outdoors. We're your guides. I'm Piff.
And I'm Sev, and it's my week.
Woohoo!
Woo! I'm always so excited for my week. I'm still not used to making regular content, and we've been doing this for months.
Like 6 months now. We've been back for about 6 months.
Yep, but still. But it's a good thing it's not like old news, right?
Yeah. It's still fun and fresh.
Yeah. And it's Christmas, and it's fun, fresh, and festive this week. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
So if you're not watching us on YouTube or you haven't seen our Instagram, it's all festive. We got a little tree and some stockings and, you know, the whole thing, a wreath. And
and I have something for you.
You have something for me.
I always have.
Every week. I need to start coming with gifts.
Da-da-da.
I swear if it's shots because I said Christmas tree.
No.
Okay. Aww.
There's actually 2 there because I didn't unfold them. One's for me, but...
Okay. Oh my gosh, these are so cute.
So for the people at home...
Like, Merry Christmas.
They're Starbucks Merry Christmas shirts because we're those bitches.
And the Starbucks siren has a Santa head. Did you make these?
No.
I was about to say.
That looks like a lot of waiting. No, I paid somebody to make it.
Thank you. Okay. I am so excited, Piff. I'm so very excited because I actually got super inspired about this one.
Which I'm excited about.
I'm very excited. And there are photos just ahead of time. Don't pull them up just yet, but just so y'all know. But yes, okay, Piff. So, to kick us off, we're going to play a little word association game.
Oh, no. Okay.
Only with one. Just one round. But, so I'm going to say something, and I want you to tell me the first word that pops into your head, okay?
Okay.
No filter. Just immediately. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. You ready?
I'm trying not to think about it.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Cemetery.
Death.
Okay. You want to do it again?
Sure.
Cemetery.
Haunted.
I notice you didn't say beautiful.
No. Creepy.
Because that makes sense, right? Like beautiful and cemetery really don't seem to go hand in hand. But when it comes to La Recoleta Cemetery in Buenos Aires, Argentina,
ooh,
you almost can't help but string the 2 words together. And we have several photos, so now you can pull them up.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to pull them up with you because they're just very pretty. Which is weird. Again, weird to say very pretty about a cemetery.
What episode is this?
53.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where are we? What is this?
What are we doing?
Photos.
Okay. So while you find those, and everybody at home, you can look at them as well.
They're on our blog, thenotsogreatoutdoors.com.
Yes. La Recoleta is famous for those who rest there, from previous presidents and first ladies of Argentina to actors and authors and everybody. I was going to say everybody in between, but even your average Joe can be buried at La Recoleta. However, it is very expensive. So just, but it is also famous for its stunning patchwork of architecture. In its 14 acres, La Recoleta holds over 6,400 statues, sarcophagi, coffins, and crypts, and a wide variety of architectural styles. So as you look throughout those photos, you'll kind of see that, and it really is kind of like a patchwork, and it looks like a little city because they are all above ground.
Is the plural of sarcophagus sarcophagi? Yes. Because that is a fun fact.
That is a fun fact, and yes, it is.
You said that, and I was like, I've never tried to pluralize sarcophagus
I hadn't
before.
Really either until now. But yes,
the more you know. This they're really pretty,
aren't they?
Yeah,
and they are all above ground. However, inside the crypts, then they go down underground. But like all of the markers and like everything is above ground. So there's not like your traditional headstone type of deal. Right.
They're these big ornate buildings.
Big buildings.
Things.
Yeah. So in 2011, it was named one of the world's best cemeteries by BBC. And in 2013, CNN included it in their list of the 10 most beautiful cemeteries in the world. And rightly so. I think they were like number 3.
What was number 1? Do you remember?
I don't, but it's linked.
Okay.
So we can look it up.
I'll check that out later.
Yeah. I think number 2 was one in London. And as beautiful as La Recoleta is, it is just as famous for its ghost story as it is for its architecture.
Haunted was a good guess.
Haunted was a good guess. And we all knew it had to be spooky, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're telling me a story.
Yes, it had to be spooky.
I tell you a story, you expect it's going to be sad. You tell me a story, I expect it's going to be spooky.
Spooky. Or a cryptid.
That's still spooky.
It is spooky. And so, according to wander-argentina.com, quote, the most well-known Recoleta Cemetery ghost story dates to the early 20th century. It is the tragic case of 19-year-old socialite Rufina Cambaceres, and I cannot help but pronounce it the proper way, because I took 2 semesters of Spanish with an Argentinian professor who would kill me if I didn't do it right.
You're like, this is my lane.
This is my moment.
I got this one.
Got it. Rufina Cambaceres, who died suddenly while preparing to see a show at the Colón Theater. She was transported to the cemetery by horse-drawn carriage on a rainy day after her death in 1902. Due to the weather, workers left her casket in the cemetery's chapel to be interred later. The next day, a worker discovered the casket had been moved and the lid was out of place. Suspecting a grave, I know, I saw your face. Weird, right? Weird. Suspecting a grave robbing, the family asked that the casket be opened. When the lid was lifted,
was her body gone? Is that where this is going?
When the lid was lifted, Rufina still had her jewelry in place, but the inside of the casket had been scratched and Rufina's extremities were bruised. The horrible truth was then revealed. She had been buried alive and tried to scratch her way out of the casket in a panic.
This is why cemeteries used to have the little bells.
The bells. That's why I saved by the bell.
They didn't know. They didn't know. We talked about this in our Buried Alive episode, one of my favorites.
Yep. They would tie a string to the person's finger. And it was attached to a bell.
I know that nowadays I don't need to worry about being buried alive because we have modern medicine and technology, but still, that is
terrifying.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's worse.
Yep.
That's so much worse.
She had suffered an attack of cataplexy, which causes a comatose-like state, leading doctors to mistakenly believe that she was dead. In fact, she died in the casket of a heart attack due to lack of air and panic. Those who visit Rufina's resting place will see that there is a life-size Art Nouveau statue of the young woman, with her hand on the door to her own mausoleum, a family tribute to the girl who died twice, end quote. And that is photo number 5, if you would. I numbered them.
I hate all of this. Like, I love this, but that is... oh, my gosh.
It is
They
scary.
brought a statue... that's not photo 5.
It's in her likeness.
Okay, so this photo 5.
Yep, that's it.
I just... The statue of her at the door.
Yeah, like getting out. Yeah.
She didn't.
I feel like that would for sure be a haunting.
I would haunt that.
Yep. And so when I read about her story, I was curious about what cataplexy is and why it would lead trained professionals to be convinced that she was dead. However, this was like the 1902. Yeah. So, according to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, cataplexy is the sudden, quote, loss of muscle tone while a person is awake and leads to weakness and a loss of voluntary muscle control. It is often triggered by sudden, strong emotions such as laughter, fear, anger, stress, or excitement. Attacks may be mild and involve only a momentary sense of minor weakness in a limited number of muscles, such as a slight drooping of the eyelids. The most severe attacks result in a total body collapse, during which individuals are unable to move, speak, or keep their eyes open. End quote. Which is interesting because there are stories floating around that her episode may have been triggered by her finding out that her mother had been sleeping with her boyfriend. Right?
Oh she died from the trauma.
She did. Well, I mean, technically she died from lack of oxygen.
She died the first time.
And heart attack. But yeah, passed out.
She appeared to be dead.
Yeah.
From possible drama.
Yeah.
I
can't. There was also some stuff floating around. Like, I couldn't find any like solid evidence for this, but there was also some stuff floating around that it also could have been brought on by her mom drugging her and doing so many times so that she could get it on with the boyfriend.
Why? Okay.
I don't know.
Why was this woman like, why? Apparently, you didn't have a great relationship with your mom.
Yeah.
And it ended in your untimely death, and I apologize for that. Please don't haunt me, haunt her.
Oh, for sure. There are reports of people seeing Rufina walking around the cemetery at night. And we can be relatively sure of this, that they're seeing her specifically because of the statue and her likeness. So, yeah.
Can you imagine, you think you saw like a person, and you're like, that was a weird person. They were dressed kind of strange, and you turn a corner and you see that statue and you go, that was not a person.
To be continued, Piff. I love your like you're already on the right train here. Let's keep her rolling. Oh yes, I'm so excited. That was like perfect. Okay. Well, another long quote incoming. My apologies. But these stories were written so well. Like
it's one of those, the stories are short enough to where rewriting it just seemed dumb, and it's easier to just quote it and say, somebody else wrote this.
Exactly. According to vamospanish.com, quote, one of the famous ghost stories of Buenos Aires is known as La Dama de Blanco, the Lady in White. The story goes like this.
There's always a lady in white.
A lady in white, yep.
That's all.
Yep. The story goes like this. A young man met a beautiful girl dressed in white at the corner of, I'm so sorry, I can't even, I am failing my Argentinian professor right now, but I cannot. So at the corner where the cemetery is located, the cross streets where the cemetery is located. And he took her out on a date. During the night, the girl felt cold. So the young gentleman gave her his jacket, and she spilled some drink on it. The next day, when the young man went to her home to get his jacket, he met the girl's mother, who told him that the girl he was looking for had actually had been passed away for a long time, which that's a weird way to, but whatever. And she was buried in Recoleta Cemetery. This young man couldn't believe it, so he went to the cemetery and found that his drink-stained jacket was draped over the crypt with the girl's name on it.
I have so many goosebumps.
Right. The young man went mad or killed himself. We're not sure. Or both.
Probably both. But, can you imagine?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The alleged lady in white was called, Maria, basically. Maria Garcia Veloso. There we go. Got it. She was only 15 years old. And she died from leukemia in 1925. Her resting place can actually be found easily at the cemetery. It is close to the entrance on the right side of the main path. I do not have a photo of this one. Another version.
Okay, that is a very good story, though.
Another version of this story, or maybe just another story involving the lady in white.
Another time in which she tricked an unsuspecting suitor into thinking she was alive.
Young men claimed that they were seduced by a pretty blonde lady dressed in all white at the same street corner mentioned above. After a night of romance, they said goodbye. The men would follow her and found her returning to... Also, the men would follow her, which is creepy.
Only creepy.
Yeah. And they found her returning to the cemetery and disappeared while walking among the tombstones. They realized then that they had been with a ghost. For years, young porteños, there we go, would avoid picking up girls at that street corner. Even an Argentinian actor and film director swore that he had met her, end quote.
I love this ghost energy. I love her vibe. I love that she's like, might be dead, but I'm still going to have a good time.
Yes.
That's not going to stop me going out on dates, meeting boys.
Well, you think about it, though. She was 15 when she died. That was something stolen from her.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's living her best death.
Our last, and also I may have misspoken earlier when I said that there were not traditional like tombstones because of the occupation of our next star.
Our next ghoulie?
Our next ghoul. So,
what's the difference between a ghoul and a ghost? Do you know?
I actually don't know. That's a good question.
Me either. We should Google
it. Okay, our last La Recoleta ghost story comes to us from the official website for La Recoleta, turismo.buenosaires.gov.ar. Again, all of these links are in the blog. I know, that was a lot.
That's a lot of dots.
It's a lot. Quote, every cemetery has a ghost story, and Recoleta is no exception. David Aleno, I think it's actually supposed to be no, I think it is Aleno. I don't know. Sorry. Apologies again if I'm butchering that. Worked for 30 years as a cemetery gravedigger. So that makes me think, actually, just kidding. There are some traditional.
Well, but you said that
they go down.
They go down.
They do. So maybe he would do that before like the big
building was put on top of it.
Yeah.
Or there could be regular ones. I have a friend who was a grave digger for a summer.
Really?
Yeah, she did landscaping at a cemetery for a summer, and part of her job included like digging graves.
Ew. No, thank you.
I mean, not like with a shovel, just
no. Yeah, the thingy. Yeah. The poor David had to do it with a shovel. But so he worked there for 30 years as a cemetery gravedigger, carefully saving his money for his own plot and a statue of himself. Again, side note, these things are expensive. Like, I don't have the numbers exactly. I really should have written them down. But they are very, very, very expensive.
I mean, I'm not surprised. Just a tombstone is expensive.
Yeah.
These are ornate.
Yeah. So it is said that as soon as the architect he had commissioned for the statue had finished the work, David went home and killed himself. Apparently, you can still hear his keys jangling as his ghost walks the cemetery's narrow paths at dawn. End quote. And photo number 9 is of his statue. Okay,
but he was like, yeah, I've lived a good life. I got my tombstone, and now I'm outie. Like, it's done.
It's done.
I don't need to be alive anymore.
So this was the story that was featured in the podcast that inspired me to learn more about La Recoleta, and it's Haunted Places by Parcast Network. And that's linked on the blog as well, if y'all want to check it out. It's a really, really cool show. But in that episode, he talks about it as if, and he mentions okay, hold on. He tells the story from David's perspective. So it's kind of a creative take on it. But it talks about him having arthritis, and he'd worked there for so long, and and then he started being able to see the spirits and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's 100% true. It'd be really, really cool if it was. But he talks about sometimes the people who would come for services would offer him drinks from their flasks, and it made him feel like he was a part of it. But it was such a socially it's such a high class, it took so much money, and you were of high social standing if you were able to be buried there at that point in time. And so he literally saved pretty much every penny that he earned in order to have a crypt there.
Okay. I will say that this sculpture of him, I don't know what you call it, because he's
statue.
Well, because it looks like it's still attached to the back wall, so then I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
But he looks like a very handsome man.
Yes. Yeah. And it's very well done. And look, he's holding the keys.
Oh.
Isn't that cool?
I didn't even notice that.
And there's a watering can and some flowers and a broom. And he took great pride in his work there. But he did feel kind of like an outcast.
Yeah. But then now he's part of it.
Yeah. So very neat stuff.
Very cool.
That is all that I have. But I just think it is really, really cool.
Yeah.
It was neat.
That's really cool. Do you know, is it custom there to, have this type of cemetery, whereas, our, American cemeteries are more lame?
It sounded like that was sort of it is definitely customary for the burial site, however it is, to be more ornate in nature. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed our trip to Argentina.
Yeah, we haven't been there yet. We haven't been to South America at all, so that was fun.
Our first one.
Yeah. And have a happy and healthy and safe holiday season, no matter what you're celebrating or where. And I hope that you're listening to us on some car ride,
to zen out before you spend time with family.
Yeah, because what is better to listen to than ghost stories right before the holidays?
Deck the halls and not your family. Have you not heard that?
Probably years ago, but not recently.
Deck
to
the halls
me,
and not your family.
That was a new joke. I love it. All right. Well, we will see you guys on New Year's Eve. And in the meantime, stay safe out there.
Thanks for watching. Music by Purple Planet. Art by Ruby Congrove. Logo by Catherine Dodds. For more information and our sources, head over to notsogreatoutdoors.com. For updates and announcements, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at NSGOPod. Don't forget to subscribe on all of your favorite podcasting platforms.